and 0.46% respectively. The European shares also opened lower in early trade today. Blood all over the board as the impasse over the U.S. spending bill entered its second day. Well, the FTSE 100 is down 0.86% to 6,404.62. The DAX is also down 0.57% to 8,639.70. The CAC is also in negative territory, is down 0.87% to 4,160.13. Well, today our focus is going to be on the Nigerian capital market. Now, we know that it was actually about 53 years ago that it started here in Nigeria. First of all, it was known as the Lagos State Exchange, and then in the early 1970s, it became the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and there have been latest developments. But how much has the Nigerian Stock Exchange met the expectations of Nigerians? Well, I'm being joined on the program by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Morgan Capital Limited, Ayoleke Adu. Good morning, Ayo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me here.
Well, the Nigerian Stock Exchange is also as old as Nigeria itself. But has it met the expectations for the reasons why it was created?
I think it has to some extent, but maybe not as much as one would have expected. The purpose of the capital market, the primary purpose is for capital formulation, right? And capital formulation as in being able to be the vehicle through which you can be able to raise money and also find liquidity for your investment. By and large, remember the industrialization program that took place in the 70s, passed to the stock exchange then. But the government itself has maybe deliberately kept out the stock exchange from their recent activities, like when they were divesting from through the privatization programs. Most of these things were done outside of the stock exchange. But now what we are saying is that if you're trying to privatize, please do it through the exchange. Even when they were issuing out licenses for GSM companies, a smart government could have said, okay, we don't want to impose any, we don't untwist you, but once you reach maybe 1 million or a certain subscriber base, you must be listed on an exchange in Nigeria.
Okay, we'll come to all of that.
Yeah.
Let's now also look at the fact that is there a strong relationship between the capital market and Nigeria's, economic growth?
Yes, we mean, if you look at the growth of the index, right, and the growth of GDP, they seem to go line. There's no how the capital market is a barometer for measuring the health of an economy, and that is why the government needs to focus on what is going on at the stock exchange, how many companies are listed there, and what kind of incentives are being given to companies to encourage them to list, because that's where you find liquidity for your investment. So in answering your question, it is a very straight-through process measuring the health of the country versus the health of the capital market. Okay. You can't divert one from the other. Okay.
Your earlier response to my question, you were talking about the fact that we have telecoms companies and we have oil companies. Now, these are two companies, firms rather, that we don't see so much of them listing on the Nigerian Stock Exchange as much as we have them here in the economy. Now, why is that?
Yeah, because it's sad to say, but the truth is that we've not been smart as a people, as a government. I could remember, I think, was it 2006, when, about 2005, when Chevron discovered oil on the Agbami field. The price of Chevron skyrocketed.
Yes, price of Chevron stocks.
Yes, stocks. And these stocks are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. If the government had put some kind of measures in place and put in the license of Chevron or whoever is the operator then, that once you are producing oil above 1 million barrels on any field in Nigeria, you must be listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. That means, for instance, the Chevron will have created a subsidiary, maybe Chevron Nigeria or whatever it's called, that will be listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It will even reduce the pressure on the Nairas, because the foreign investors will be converting their USD to bring to Nigeria to buy buy Chevron shares.
So in other words, you're trying to say that
we've not really managed ourselves very well. We've only been doing management by, I would say, by proxy.
Okay,
right?
so what in other words, your
your
argument is that most of the policies that we have right now in terms of having these companies come to list on the Nigerian Stock Exchange are not stringent enough to allow them or make them to come and list on the stock exchange.
You see, you plan things ahead of time. You don't change the rules in the middle of the game. But if someone is coming to you and saying they want XYZ license, you have to look at how do you trap as much of that money within your economy. The banks in Nigeria are very, very good at doing that. They keep a gate around you. They make sure that one customer is paying to another customer within the banking system. That is the same way the managers of the Nigerian economy need to be looking at all these things. Before you issue out license to someone, look at it, put a caveat there. Once you reach a threshold, you should get listed on an exchange. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It must be an exchange listed on a Nigerian capital market. And it's for the person that wants the license to now decide whether it wants this business or not. And I can bet with you, 99.9% of them would have accepted.
Well, you know, this is not only peculiar to oil companies. We'll also see this in the telecoms companies.
Exactly, that's what I said.
Recently, the Information Communication Technology Minister, Omobola Johnson, actually visited the stockbroking community and said, we're going to have more of these companies come to list on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
Yeah, by now, you can only appeal to their good nature, right? Like I said, you don't change the rules in the middle of the game. It's all part because if you are changing it now, it can also trigger some kind of confidence within about the ways in which you do business in your country. We can only appeal to them.
But Ayo, there's supposed to be room for amendments.
Yeah.
We are pushing right now for the Constitution to be amended. The Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act is also being, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the CBN, most players are actually pushing for this act to also be amended. So why can't the act that governs the capital market also be amended to ensure that you will compulsorily, if you're an oil company or a telecom company, compulsorily have to list on the Nigerian Stock Exchange?
Yeah, the laws are made for human beings and not human beings for the law. So laws can be changed, but you also have to look at the implications. But there's only cast in stone. You have to look at the pros and cons. I believe in using both the carrot and the stick in this instance because we had missed that opportunity, but we can still always move forward. We can still always ensure that for the next round of biddings that we get all these things clearly stated. The mineral sector is about to open. The privatization has been done, the power sector one. I'm not sure whether this clause was inserted in any of the purchase contracts, if at all. So we just keep saying things and saying things, but actions are not being taken, right? And this thing must be seen as a national policy, that it becomes very, very obvious and clear to everyone that before certain steps are taken, certain things have to be done. It happens in South Africa and some other economies. You have to find a way to ensure that your economy grows. And the people outside your economy, the first thing they're going to look at to actually see whether your economy is growing or not, or even worth looking at, is your stock exchange.
You also mentioned the fact that if you change the policies in the middle of the game, it's going to have rippling implications. What are these implications that we might be seeing? It might show some level of inconsistencies, right? People might say, okay, these guys, if I'm coming into the country now, you can certainly change the game, right? So for the people that are already in the country playing, you can only appeal. That would be the best way to do it. Give them incentives to change, because now you ask someone, tell you that, look, why do you want me to even list on your exchange? I don't raise listing on your exchange doesn't confer on me any advantages. Right? So you have to look for ways to ensure that they are incentivized to come and list, because you've already missed that boat, right? So these are things which government needs to do to encourage people that are already in the economy to list. But going forward, it has to be a policy very clear to everyone that once you reach a threshold of your business, government can set the threshold,
Once you reach it, you must be listed on an exchange in Nigeria. Simple. And the person, it now become a compliance issue.
Now,